I'm just kidding. Guys, listen, my name is Jimmy. Not only do I get the opportunity to come out here and entertain you guys and have fun with you guys at the very start of the show, but I also get the opportunity to share a little bit of my story. So, with that, I want to start at the most awkward years of my life, elementary school, right? Listen, when I say awkward, I truly mean awkward. Like, I was a kid in the corner of the school playground next to the school wall just kicking it. I didn't know I was doing it. Teachers, nobody knew I was doing it. They owed me lunch money, and I got it back. That's all I know. But to make things even more awkward than that, if a girl come up to me and be like, "Oh, hi," I'd be like, "I have to poop!" And I would just, like, take off running, and it was a bad scene. Like, 'cause sometimes I didn't even make it to the bathroom. But, listen, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But but naturally, growing up from those times, man, diving into the preteen days or the right before you go into high school days or the middle school, like those days, I got introduced to a lot of different things. There were a lot of different outlets. One of them being radio. I was so into music. I loved music so much. So I would always be listening to just a different artists and stuff like that. And eventually, I got introduced to a lot of explicit lyrics through that. Just talking about just different things about women and then drugs and all this stuff. I got introduced to that. And so naturally, that made me want to see the music videos for those things. And those music videos showed explicit images that I wasn't even ready to see at that age. But I got exposed to it. And so with that, eventually I got introduced to the world of pornography. And I had no clue how much of a stronghold it would actually have on my life until my high school days when I actually went to an event. I went to a concert, a rap concert, a Christian rap concert, and that night it was so cool because Jesus met me exactly where I was at. It wasn't this set up moment. It was just God seeing me for who I was, seeing through my imperfections and seeing somebody who was worth just loving. And that blew my mind that day. And so from then on, I was all about God. I was all about living this thing out and going after this thing. And so naturally, a year later, I actually went to another event and put on a ring to commit my life, and for a commitment to honor God with my entire life, including my sexual life. And I was serious about that too. And I was going after this thing. I was all in because it was what God wanted in my life. And so I went for it. But naturally, growing up in high school, you start getting in those little cutesy relationships, right? The ones that don't last very long, but they're there, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. But I started getting into these relationships, but more so when I got out of high school and started seeing the outside world, man, I wanted to get into more serious relationships. So naturally, that led me to meeting this girl one day. And let me just tell you, this girl was the bomb. Right? I thought she was everything. She was everything I wanted inside of a little small person, right? No, for real. I really fell hard for this girl. And it was so crazy because to this day, it blows my mind that she saw me standing behind that bush looking at her in the park. No, for real, as awkward as that is, like, when our eyes first met, let me tell you, right through my binoculars, like, it was love at first sight. I'm for real. Like, even if I had to explain it any more than that, like when our eyes first met and it was this beautiful moment, it went a little something like this. And I will always love you. I'm just kidding. No, it was a beautiful moment. Like, it was like a slow motion Pantene commercial. Like, my hair was blowing in the wind, her hair was blowing in the wind, and it was just beautiful, right? No, for real, it was a beautiful moment. So naturally, I got up enough courage and I asked her out. And she said yes. Score, right? No, she said yes. And so we started dating. We started going on these little cutesy little relationship dates. Those things. And so with that relationship, we started doing the relationship thing. Holding hands, hugging, the little pet kisses on the cheek, those little cutesy things that relationships, like, are made out of. Man, those things are things that I actually valued in our relationship. And I went off, those were the things that I valued in our relationship, so it was naturally just what we did. But growing up in our culture and seeing at such a young age pornography and all these things meshing and seeing people who are older than me going through these relationships and getting in these serious relationships and hearing and seeing what they did in these relationships, those cutesy little relationship things weren't enough for me anymore. I actually needed more. And so with that, I ended up, one night we went on this awesome date, and it was one of the best dates I have ever had in my entire life. And my plan that night was, after the date, to take her home, drop her off, and then take my butt home. But that didn't happen that night. Because that night, I ended up staying a little while late at night. And one thing led to another, and that night we ended up having sex. And I remember so vividly, right after all that went down, walking to my truck, in my head thinking of what a man I just became. Because according to culture and what I've been told my entire life through people who were older than me that I respected, and seeing it even in my own parents' relationship, with all that combined into one, I thought I just became a man in that situation. I'd done a man thing. That's not what happened. But see, as I'm walking to my truck, I'm having these thoughts, and I get in my truck, and I'm driving down the road, heading back to my house, and I look in my hand that's on the steering wheel. And that ring that I put on 2 years before this very night, I happened to see it on my finger still. And instantly, I remembered and realized what I just gave away. Something I can only give away once. And something that's supposed to be so valued that it's only supposed to be between married couples. But I, thinking that this is the man thing to do, gave it up to fulfill some kind of sexual desire that I thought I needed in my life in order to become a man. Because that's what I've been told by culture. Man, can I just clarify something? Fellas in the room, can I just clarify something with you? And I only say all this stuff because I've been told this. And somebody thankfully told me this. So let me just clear something up right now. Having sex does not make you a man. That is not the point where you say, well, look, this is what I have to do in order to become a man. No, that's not the step. There's no steps to come. No, that's not it. Despite what culture tells you, that is not it. See, sex was designed specifically and was created for us. See, it was not created by us, so we have no right to say when and how it's supposed to be used. See, that's up to the Creator and the Creator himself. And the Creator created it specifically for one man and one woman in the context of marriage, ultimately for our joy and his glory. That is the only design of it. No matter what culture tries to tell you outside this building, that's the design of it. I wish I had somebody tell me that before that night. See, when I looked at this ring that night, I felt the hurt, the pain, the guilt, the shame of everything that I just gave up. I felt all that emotion and that hurt. And I started thinking about her, and I started feeling a lot worse because I took advantage of her feelings and emotion all because I wanted to fulfill that sexual desire that I thought I needed. But here's the point. When I look at this ring now, after I've recommitted my life to going after this thing, asking God for forgiveness and going after this thing again, man, when I look at this ring, I don't see hurt anymore. When I look at this ring, I see hope. Not because of what the ring is, because it's a piece of jewelry, but what this ring stands for is so much more than you could ever understand. Well, so much more than even what I can understand, but what I do know is this. On this ring, there's 2 crosses to remind you of what was done for us and what was done for me. See, it has little to do with what I'm doing for God, but more so what God did for me. It's a reminder of that. And on this ring, it even has a scripture. 1 Thessalonians 4:3-4, and it simply says this, that it is God's will that you be sanctified, that you should avoid sexual immorality and learn to control your bodies in a way that is holy and honorable. There's 2 things I see instantly when I look at this verse. First one is, it is God's will that you be sanctified. It's not his option or his recommendation. No, it's God's will that you be sanctified. Second is sanctification is a process. Sometimes we get in our heads like, oh, if I just say a prayer and then it's that. No, sanctification is a process. You got to continually to go after this thing and let God heal some things out of your life on his time, not ours. See, you just saw this video a few minutes ago. And on that mirror, we were writing some things that we've been hurt by or that we've done, and now we're seeing the consequences of those. Sanctification is a process, and we're still going through it. We don't stand up here perfect, not at all. But the beautiful part about it, man, is God sees through all that, and he sees you. So that's what I see when I look at this ring now. So fellas, let me encourage you and challenge you at the same time. One more time before I get off this stage. Let me just say this, and I only say this because it was told to me. At some point or another, the little boy has to sit down and the man has to stand up, and that does not happen in the bedroom. Never has, and it never will. See, that can happen tonight. With you sitting in this seat right now, it don't matter how young you are right now, you can make a decision to man up and stop listening to the lies of our culture and start believing the truth of our God and the way that he designed things and start going after it. Listen, I'm not telling you to do this, fellas. I'm asking you to do this with me as someone who's just a little bit older than you. I'm asking you to do this with me, to make this decision tonight, to honor God with every part of our life, including our sexual life. And ladies, lastly, if I have anything to say to you, as cliche as this may sound, and as many times as you may heard it in your life, you are worth the wait. And if any man can't respect that, then you shouldn't be with him. Listen, again, how was that guy? I don't want to be that guy anymore, fellas. And I'm asking you to stand up with me and start treating these women as if they are creations of God, because they are. Listen, if you fellas have any questions or want to talk with me after the show, I would love to talk with you. Thank you guys so much for listening to my story. I hope you enjoy the rest of the show.